What is going on? I want to thank you for coming by to Vape with the Viking. So today I got a new RDTA for you. Well, it's not new, but it's the newest RDTA from ThunderHead Creations. So what we're going to look at today is the Artemis RDTA. Shout out to Bogan. This was actually one of his patron giveaways. I've been a patron with him for 3 years or so. I've won a couple, so this was the last one. So it's a little bit of an older device technically, and of course a little bit late on the reviews, so life. But speaking of life, before we really start even talking about this thing, so as you all know, above this recording time, we're about to hit in the US the vape mail ban. So we're talking UPS, FedEx, now DHL, UPS, all those guys are basically saying, we're done. So what that technically means for vapers and technically US reviewers is that we will probably no longer be receiving product from companies. So needless to say, it will probably be the death of a lot of the smaller channels. Now, I wouldn't say the nice thing is, but the good thing is content might be very slow, but I'm not going anywhere. I've fully funded this channel for the longest time. Last almost 8 months or so. Had a little bit here and there from our Patreons for TRV crew, and of course all my followers, supporters, patrons, / just awesome people that you are, throwing me stuff every once in a while. So I thank each and every single one of you. But as when it comes to the companies, it's probably a done deal. So yeah, bad times. But on a brighter note, also remember hashtag ADHD awareness. Remember, find somebody or know somebody that has the disorder, let them know. Hashtag beautiful, not broken. If you don't know what that is, go watch TRV Crew show on Fridays on Spring's channel. So little thing that they guys came up with. But let's get back onto this RDTA. Couple of things on that. It is definitely, as you can see, it's on the mix mod right now, which is kind of perfect for that because it is a single coil. I think, like you'll see in the dive down, I think you can do a dual coil in there. I just never tried it. I've been just really enjoying it in a single coil. And of course running some Dark Star's lemon meringue donut, because it, even for a single coil, does really good with even desserts. So, but it is RDTA, so you're gonna look at these stainless steel rods. Gonna go into that as usual in the dive down. So, but yeah, we'll come back up. Tell you where you can find it. Prices are going to be varied, so because it is, like I said, a little bit older. I can't even say older. It's like 6 months old or whatever of a product. So, but I'm ready. Are you ready? Yeah, we're ready. Just going to drop the hammer on the Artemis. Okay, so what I got for you today is one of the last of the single coil RTAs I had in a row to do here. This one is actually I got from Bogan, one of his winnings. It's the Artemis Top Coil RDTA by ThunderHead Creations, or Torn, and Tony Vapes. So normally you'd see the product there. I just got it over here off to the side. On the side you're going to have Tony's YouTube site and your scratch and check authenticity. ThunderHead Creations. There's stuff there. And then on the back, I'm going to tell you what it includes: the RDTA spare glass accessory pack and user manual. In cooperation with Tony Vapes, and not for sale to minors, and their website, and of course all the little certificates, warnings, all that good stuff. So on the inside of the box you're going to get a spare glass, screwdriver, a coil cut tool, which is a little different than ones I've ever seen before. It's got some dips in there. That's a little different. A bag with a 4-core fuse Clapton and I-80 and some cotton. Got a couple of those in there. And then your accessory spare parts bag, which has your QCs in there, a bunch of black silicone O-rings, or excuse me, rubber O-rings. You do have a squonking pin. That's your 510, because this is going to be a tall guy. Your Allen and another steel cable, because this is a top coiler, so you're going to have the steel cables. Another little insulating block, and a bunch of grub screws that are flathead. So that's that whole kit there. Then you're going to have the device itself, which does come in at it might be a little off, look at 24 millimeter in diameter. All right, so taking a real quick look at this guy, of course you got the top, you do have the drip tip, which got a little bit of like a almost like black marble look to it, mostly black, little streaks of white in there. Got the O-ring in there that is built onto the drip tip. ThunderHead Creations. It is just a standard 810 drip tip, and then on the top you do have that honeycomb airflow right there, and then you'll see your sight window / tank portion. And then on the bottom you got, your ThunderHead Creations, Tony Vapes, in cooperation with Tony Vapes, manufactured by ThunderHead Creations. This does have, of course, it says sample, so it does not have a serial number. That's normally where your serial number would go. Like I said, this one was from a Bogan winning, so more than likely they sent it to him. It's just a sample. And then at the bottom you do have a nicely protruding 510 gold 510 pin there, so it should be definitely hybrid safe. Alright, so the top there you have the honeycomb airflow, and then on the inside here you'll see nothing a whole lot dazzling, I guess, going on, just very standard doming. Got a little bit of a sharp edge in there, so that's pretty cool. And this is the portion that actually goes into the top. Since I haven't got it lubricated yet, it wants to stick in there really bad, so I pulled it out so we could take a look at it. So what you're going to see is there's, of course, your honeycombing again, and you do have some lock tabs there, and then you have this pin here, which I have to show you the rest of the deck for that. So here's the deck itself. So where that pin goes into, it's actually going to, it's your fill slot or fill hole. So this is kind of the way that they're using it to plug it in there, just like that, to plug it up when you're done filling. You'll put the top on there. And then normally this had a couple little foam blocks in here. That's mainly to keep the rods from coming out and shipping, so you'll just pull those guys out. And then you have one of your Allens here, or grub screw, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to make this, actually, when you saw that old insulator that was in the bag, that's what's actually down in here. So it is definitely a single coil RTA or RDTA, because it is going to be a top coiler where it's going to be coming from the bottom and wicking your cotton with those stainless steel rods in there. One thing I try to tell everybody is when you're messing with those, especially cleaning them right out the bat, keep gloves on, or just make sure that your hands are very, 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 very clean. The stainless steel will, anything that gets on them, it'll stick to it. So oils from your hands, or even if you're using some pretty harsh detergent, stuff like that. So definitely wash those very, very well, as in to get the machining oil off, but also anything that's on your hands. Maybe throw on some gloves or wash your hands really, really well and dry them thoroughly before you start messing with those guys. So to get down to the bottom here, just give it a turn. Let those guys fall out there. So basically just take and untwist it there. Of course, the glass easily comes in and out. There's your glass there. And then here's your whole stock or stem. This is where you're going to unscrew this if you want the squonk pin in there, and that's why it is so darn long. It's going to go through this entire thing and connect up to here. But also, as you can see, those stainless steel rods come out very, very easily. There are been a lot of products out there, they're stuck in there pretty decently. So I don't know if that would be, I don't know, a pro or con in my opinion. The ones stuck in a whole lot better are a little bit easier to deal with. These kind of flop around a lot, but makes them easier to get in and out. So just twist this guy back together here, and you can do it one of two ways. You can either take and have those put in there, or if you want to, take some clean tweezers and you can just drop those guys in there if you don't want to use your hands, or if your hands are not freshly cleaned. Alright, so those all just dropped in there very nice and easy. This one right here, got a little resistance there. All you gotta do is just give it a little push down and it sinks right back down where it needs to be. So we're going to take a look at here real quick, because it does not say, of course, where you would want to cut them at, so on and so forth. The coil, we're going to look here, so it's going to post right up into there. So we're going to probably do this guy at the 5mm in their cutting parameter. Let's see how this deck works here. We'll take and unscrew it here, and as you see here, as you unscrew that block just slowly opens up there. And that's how that's going to work. And if you look, the gold is kind of being super reflective. But you see your peak insulator here, so there's your positive. Of course, there's going to be your negative. But pretty easy. You're going to put one leg here, and call it good. Now, there is enough room in this guy that I could say if you're using a fairly thinner coil, kind of like maybe the coils they put in there, like a fused Clapton, they probably actually meant for this to be a dual coil setup, because then you'd put your coils in, you know, both sets here, leg, and then you could bend them out and then out. I, for one, am not going to run it as a dual, but when you look at the rods here, it would almost look like you would have a coil here, wicks go here, and then a coil here, wicks here, wicks here. Okay, so what we've done is we used one of Corey or Triple C's coils, Aliens, and that is Ni90, and put an extra wrap in there, and right at 5mm works beautifully in there. It looks amazing. Alright, we are back up with the Artemis RDTA by ThunderHead Creations. So, as you saw in the dive down, definitely something that not a lot of people are used to, what they call a top coiler, or the stainless steel rods help bring up that juice to those wells on an RDTA. I've always been a pretty, I would say, big fan, or at least decent fan of ThunderHead Creations stuff. Really loved their Tauren mech mod. I was completely crushed when mine got crushed, the first mech mod they had. Ended up finding another one, buying another one of those, and just good amount of products. I have the one RTA that I still have not reviewed yet either over here by them as well. I think it's a pretty decent one. And as for RDTAs, I really don't use a lot of them. The only one that I used on a pretty consistent basis was the Brunhild by Vapefly, and it's an MTL. So, but out of this pros, I like the fact it is 24mm. So if you run it in single coil, you can put it on something like, the mix mod, something with a single battery. I'm running it at 3.7 volts at a 0.19 build with a triple C coil in there. So 3.7 on 1.9, looking at about 60 watts. Full open because it is a dessert, so I get it really nice and hot. If I do a candy or a fruit, I'll actually close it to about halfway down. So, but here's 3.7 volts, or roughly 60 watts. Yeah, and literally that donut tastes almost exactly the same on this as it does like even one of my Asgards. So that's telling you flavor-wise, it's really, really good. When you look at the build deck and that top cap that comes over, it's not really surprising because it kind of looks very, I don't know, we should say almost like coil turd-esque. And that is a great RDA for flavor. Spring, huge fan of that. I do like the Asgards a little better. So it makes complete sense why this thing is doing great on flavor. So height-wise, might be a con with it. It is kind of a tall guy. But again, if you're doing a side-by-side, it's great because literally your airflow should come right across the top there. Let's say you're not a side-by-side kind of person. So, here's what it looks like on the Odin 100. So, just a little single battery mod. So like the Jackaroo originals, just little single mods. Those work pretty well as pretty good as well. The only thing you'd have to get used to is, again, kind of tall. So I won't even list that as a con. So realistically, tons of pros. Love the size, love the flavor production, super easy to build. I can sit here and chain on this thing forever, and the wicking is keeping up. I haven't had any dry hits or problems with any kind of capillary action where that stainless steel rods aren't working. But again, it probably works better if you are a chain vapor because you're kind of constantly letting that juice roll up those rods. But so we'll do this real quick just in case there's some out there be like, I don't know if I trust that, and I chain vape probably more than you. Hold on just a sec. Again, still at 3.7 volts, 60 watts. Wow. Okay. No dry hits. Had to stop because, whew. Yeah. We all know why. Whew. Lord. Anyways, so yeah, have not had a single problem with this thing not keeping up with wicking. Just want to make sure that, don't throw a ton of cotton on there. You want it to essentially just kind of touch and lay into those wells on top of those rods. Thin it out a bit too, because if you have it a little too compact in there, it's going to take more to get the juice to flow through all of that cotton. So, but yeah, if you follow the dive downs, you should not have any problems with that. So, cons, literally am kind of just reaching for cons on this guy. Maybe some of the other RDTAs I've dealt with, the rods were maybe those were wrong. I'm not sure, but those rods come out really, really easy. Like even when you're just cleaning or whatever, and you tip it, and they just want to tumble out. So you got to be careful with that. Realistically, maybe that's also why I don't have a problem with it wicking, because they're not super tight in there. So it's not only that the juice is following up those cables, but it's also possibly coming out of the portholes. So, but I would say that is probably a con, because it's kind of a pain in the butt when you're cleaning or doing whatever, and they just want to keep flopping out. Other than that, the top cap, realistically, I don't like the fact that it like sinks in there so hardcore, mainly for cleaning purposes again. So when you go to try to clean this all out, and if you want to change the flavor and all that, you have to take off the drip tip, and then you have to, well, one, it's tight in there anyway. You got to push the drip tip out this way, and then you got to take something and force the collar or cover back the other way. So that's a little bit of a pain in the butt. But if you're doing it just for thorough cleaning or juice changing, hopefully maybe you're just not changing juice that often, so you won't have to do it that much. And another pro I completely forgot to even bring up is that fill hole. I have used anything from, of course, a Dark Star nozzle to, just any other regular juice, like unicorn style or gorilla style type of tip. Everything works for it. The only thing you would have to do that I do with the Dark Star ones is you just got to be a little bit easier on it. But, air will escape out of the juice wells. So if you have to, you can always take and jam your bottle down in there and fill it. What I did with Dark Star, of course, as you saw in there, I just kind of did a little half like tip thing and just sat there and kind of milked it a little bit. But so that's awesome. But you can find it anywhere from, I've seen it anywhere from $20 on certain sites all the way up to $45 on others. So it's just going to Google if you're really looking for the THC or ThunderHead Creations Artemis RDTA. But that is all I got for it today. I just want to thank each and every one of you yet again for coming to Vape with a Viking. And I'll check you later.